Oh, Internet. Oh, Internet. Oh, Internet. Why do you kick me off all the time? Oh, Internet. Oh, Internet. I can't stand the Internet. I'm going to quit the Internet soon. I swear. I'm going to give the Internet up, damn it. 717-916-5189, part 2 here of Rominger Radio. Not sure why we're having a part 2 and a part 1 and all that other happy crappy. But hey, we are. So live with it. Embrace it. Love it. Do what you can with it. 717-916-5189. Okay, so we've been going through the evils of the Supreme Court and all kinds of other things. A lot of evil of the Supreme Court, I'm sure. By the way, I did call John Robert on healthcare years ago. Yes, I did. Oh, yes, I did. I called that one, and so I'm just going to claim credit for it. I think everybody loves Clinton, Waco. I'm bringing up Waco now. What can I do? It's the kind of audience I have. 717-916-5189 to get here on the air. Okay, so police can stop, search, and question you. Yeah. Police can subject Americans to virtual strip searches no matter the offense. A divided Supreme Court actually prioritizes making life easier for overworked jail officials over the basic right of Americans to be free from debasing strip searches. And it's 5-4 ruling in Florence versus Burlington. The court declared that any person is arrested and processed at a jailhouse, regardless of the severity of his or her offense, can be subjugated to a virtual strip search by police or jail officials which involves exposing genitalias and buttocks. This license to probe is now being extended to roadside stops. What happened was, part of this, well, the jailers shouldn't have to figure out the seriousness of the offense. So they weighed, the time it would take to determine if you're there for a traffic violation versus whether you're there for coke or drug trafficking or murder before they strip search you or not. So if a cop can come up with a reason to pull you into the jail, they might finger your hoo-hoo. Just learn and live with it, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to finger your hoo-hoo besides your husband or your wife? Well, the cops, that's who. Immunity protections for security service agents trumps free speech of rights of Americans. In Reichel versus Howard 2012, 2 Secret Service agents arrested a Colorado man for daring to voice critical remarks to Vice President Cheney. However, they found that, he didn't make a threat, but he was critical of Cheney, and they thought maybe because he was critical of Cheney, he might be dangerous. And yes, he did nothing wrong, and he exercised his First Amendment rights, but the fact that he was arrested, that was just the Secret Service, once again, just being zealous in protecting him. And so, once again, if you speak out against a politician, Obama sucks. Tom Corbett's an idiot. Those kinds of statements would subject you to arrest with no redress against the people who did it. Why? Oh, because the Supreme Court says so. Police can break into homes without a warrant, even if it's the wrong home. Yeah, so in an 8-1 ruling, Kentucky v. King, the Supreme Court placed their trust in the discretion of police officers. When the police officers greater willing to break into police departments without a warrant, despite the fact that police in question of pursuing the wrong suspect invaded the wrong apartment and violated just about every tenet of the law, the court sanctioned the warrantless raid, saying, hey, well, yeah, wrong guy, wrong place, but hey, that's enough. 2011, Cormetta v. Green, police can interrogate minors without their parents present. That was at school. The Supreme Court said, well, if you're at a home, we still have to have a parent present. But if you're at school, since the school stands in place of a parent, once again, the school is now the parent. The school is the government. If the government is the parent, the more the government becomes the parent, the less you become the parent. The more the government becomes the parent, the less you become the parent. The next ruling will be, well, we didn't have the parent's permission, but the kid's principal, who watches the kid for the majority of his daylight hours, said different than the parents. And he really stands in place of the parents for all intents and purposes and actually spends more time abiding over the child than the parents do. That's the logic. These are scary decisions, folks. You should be scared out of your frickin' flip-flops right now. Just saying. I'm scared right out of my flip-flops. 717-916-5189. Yes, I am scared out of my flip-flops. Both of them. Well, all three of them. Yes, I wear 3 flip-flops. Think about that for a while. No, really, I swear. 3 flip-flops. 3 of them. Reminds me of a golf joke. But the guy meets the golf genie. Anybody know that one? All right, never mind. It's a crime not to identify yourself to a policeman when he asks your name. Now, that goes back to 2004. It's High Bill was 6th Judicial District Court in Nevada. Now, the Supreme Court said there, where a state has a law that requires you to identify yourself, you can be required to identify yourself. And failure to speak and give your name can become a violation. Coming back to the future, to, parody my good friend Michael J. Fox. Yeah, Back to the Future. You get it. Ha, ha, ha. Hedges versus Obama. The military can arrest and detain American citizens. In refusing to hear Hedges v. Obama, a legal challenge to the indefinite detention provisions of the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, NDAA, the Supreme Court affirmed the President of the U.S. military can arrest and indefinitely detain individuals, including American citizens. By the way, in doing so, the High Court passed on an opportunity to overturn its 1944 Karematsu versus United States ruling allowing for the internment of Japanese Americans in concentration camps. Yeah, think about that. Even if you're an American citizen, we can just declare you a terrorist and detain you. Carl Rominger is a terrorist. Put him in Guantanamo. Carl Rominger is a terrorist. Hold him in some nondescript military base. Do some extreme rendition on him. You're like, oh, well, they just do it to the terrorists. How do you know? How do you know? Talk about this interlocking puzzle that's being created now. If you just don't like the president, you can be arrested. If you spoke out against Obamacare under this line of cases we've been reading, you can be arrested and detained and have nothing to do about it. And if we detain you under the NDAA for speaking out against Obama and Obamacare, you can be held. Oh, no, you put it that way. It suddenly seems like a violation of my freedom, Carl. I thought we were just talking about Muslim terrorists being indefinitely held in the name of American security. I didn't realize it could happen to a white person. Idiots. Frickin' idiots that support this stuff. 717-916-5189. If you have a different view, I feel happy to talk to you about it. Again, 717-916-5189. I'm ranting my way through these because they make me that freaking angry. Students can be subject to random lockdowns and mass searches at school. Once again, school. What happened to school? Court refused to hear Burleson v. Springfield. A case involving students at Missouri Public School were subject to random lockdowns, mass searches, and drug-sniffing dogs. The appeals court said that searches and lockdowns were reasonable in order to maintain safety and security of students at the school. Screwl. Is that what my friend Rush Limbaugh calls screwl? Screwl? Might make you want to homeschool. Police officers who don't know their actions violate the law are guilty of breaking the law. Hey, I didn't realize I was breaking the law. Now, remember that maxim, mistake of law is never a defense, right? Mistake of law is not a defense. Mistake of fact might be. Jury has to decide. Mistake of law is never a defense. Wait a minute. United States Supreme Court says, oh, wait, we want to give police officers one more quiver. And I don't mean the good guys. I mean the guys who want to steal your rights, the guys who want to trample on you, the bootjack thugs the NRA warned you about. The Supreme Court let stand a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision in Brooks v. City of Seattle, in which police officers who clearly used excessive force, then repeatedly tasered a pregnant woman during a routine traffic stop, were granted immunity from prosecution. The Ninth Circuit actually rationalized ruling by claiming that police officers couldn't have known beyond a reasonable doubt that their actions, tasering a pregnant woman who was not a threat in any way until she was unconscious, violated the Fourth Amendment. So since they didn't, even though it did violate the Fourth Amendment, because they didn't know, beyond a reasonable doubt that it violated the Fourth Amendment, they weren't subject to any judicial scrutiny or lawsuit later. Yeah, it was actually decisions. So those are 16 ways. Those are 16 of the various ways. 16 of the various ways. We're not getting anything either, Bill Harris. Well, you know what? The one broadcast died, but we're back. We're back right now. I'm pretty sure we should be back. You know what sometimes happens is when we got killed on the first hour and just restarted on the second hour here. Yeah, you got to reboot it. When it dies and you're not getting any sound, just reboot it or restart it because you're just getting some dead feed. This is the live feed now. Anyhow, I just finished up the 16 cases. So if you guys who missed it, you're just going to have to go back and listen to the podcast. Hard to believe we've only got an hour down now, though. I mean, really? On a beautiful, glum night like tonight, and you guys are going to stick me right here and just make me keep talking for hours to go. How do we feel? Wait, maybe it worked for Bill. Bill, did you get back up? Okay, you got it back, Bill. Good. You know, I'm still not 100% convinced this home studio is the best plan. We're going to nail this thing down, though, I tell you. Let's see here. What do we know? First of all, I want to thank Mike Morrison for the music. So he composed this little spot of music. I don't know if I can play it right now or not. Let's see. Playing. So it's coming. So listen to this. Mike Morrison composed this as our little intro to the show. And I think it's pretty cool, actually. So I'm just playing it right now. Take a listen. Okay, so there you go. That's going to finish up here pretty nice here. That nice little crisp ending on. I think it's like a minute and 9 seconds long. So there you go. And Michael Morrison did that for us. He's angling for the big time. If we get some more, listeners here, we can hook them up. But no, thank you very much. That is a great little piece. And we'll use it as an intro and an outro and take it from there. Now, I'm going to take a little break because I'm off to do that, right? So while I take my little break, we'll take some callers here again in about 8 minutes. But I'm going to play a piece I did previously, and I probably played it for you before, about PA courts and warrantless searches. After I've just read you all my rants and raves on the United States Supreme Court, you'll understand why I think it's important to play it again. You need to study how your government's screwing you. 717-916-5189. We'll be taking calls again in about 8 minutes. Here you go. Welcome, Carl Rominger here. Just want to talk a little bit about the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's decision released yesterday in Commonwealth versus Gary. In that opinion, Justice McCafferty, pronouncing the opinion of the court, overrules a lot of history here in Pennsylvania to now allow the police to do a warrantless search of your car as long as they have probable cause to believe that the search will yield the fruits of the crime. In the case at Barr, a fellow was pulled over, and after he was pulled over, he indicated there was weed in the car, and the police went ahead and did an immediate search of the car and found 2 pounds of marijuana hidden in the car. Previously, under Pennsylvania law, as long as the police had probable cause to stop you, but before they arrested you for something, they couldn't necessarily search the car without impounding the car and getting a warrant. That was not always the case under federal law, and in fact, under federal law, for a long time, there's been an automobile exception, which basically says that while the police would have to get a warrant, whether it were a house or something else, they don't need to get a warrant for the automobile. Pennsylvania, however, under Article 1, Section 8 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, for many years gave an additional protection, which was basically that the police impound the car and get a warrant. The idea being that if the police officer felt he or she had probable cause, they would have to articulate that to a detached and neutral magistrate who would then take that information and make a determination about whether a search should ensue. Now, if you were arrested at the scene for some other crime, the car could be impounded and an inventory search could be done and a warrant wouldn't necessarily be required. But imagine a scenario where you're pulled over, for instance, for a minor traffic infraction. The officer then begins to suspect that there's something else going on, drug trafficking or other fruits of the crime in the car. What we've said is if they can't arrest you for an offense, but they believe that the car contains fruits of a crime or evidence of a crime, then under the Fourth Amendment, they are allowed to search it. Under Article 1, Section 8 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, up until yesterday, police officers were instructed to take the car and impound it or hold it while they got a warrant to establish probable cause through a warrant scenario and give an additional protection to the citizen. That protection was removed. Now, the opinion is very lengthy, and in it, McCaffrey discusses the history in Pennsylvania. Essentially says, historically, our courts have never really analyzed this right. We've never done what's called an Edmunds analysis, which is a analysis to see if our state constitution does or doesn't offer this protection or should or shouldn't be exactly the same as the Fourth Amendment. In the dissent written by Justice Todd, she goes on to say, basically, well, that's not really true. We've always said that Article 1, Section 8 gave more protections in this area. What does this really mean practically? It means that historically in Pennsylvania, when you were pulled over and the police wanted to search your car, they needed your consent or they needed a warrant. Now they only need to articulate probable cause to believe they'll find the fruits of a crime and they can begin to search your car in length. Now, realistically, this only changes your protections a little bit because most states followed the Fourth Amendment automobile exception as articulated by the Supreme Court over many years. And the Supreme Court of the United States has said you have a lower expectation of privacy in your car and that therefore third parties like the police can then impound or search your car roadside before they let you go or before they arrest you and without your consent, as long as they can articulate that probable cause. So you still aren't required to allow the police to search your car if they ask you to, and you're still not required to let them search your car unless they can articulate probable cause, but that's going to be in their head. And once they've articulated probable cause to themselves and they start to search your car, your only remedy later is to file a suppression motion in the Court of Common Pleas and say that there was not an articulable or reasonable basis that would constitute probable cause, which is more than a reasonable suspicion, that the search would be fruitful. Obviously, these cases won't come to court when the police find nothing, because then there's nothing for you to do, although you could file a 1983 lawsuit and sue them and say that they violated your constitutional rights by searching your car without probable cause. Practically most citizens who have their cars searched and nothing's found are going to go about their way and end the police interaction. Now, keeping in mind that these days you are allowed to record the police and keeping in mind that the police are allowed to record you, and of course most state police cars and many local cars have audio and visual recordings ongoing, it probably behooves you to say, I don't want you to search my car. And if they say, well, we're going to, well, what's your probable cause? If the officer is willing to articulate that, at least you'll then have an articulation of what he or she thought at the moment. It's often said that criminal defendants will, after the fact, meet with their lawyers and try to figure out why they did what they did to explain away a crime. Well, the same occurs when police officers meet with district attorneys. Well, here's the law, here's why you might have had probable cause, and an officer might be tempted to say, yes, that's what I was thinking at the time. Yes, that was what my belief was at the time, which was allowing me to articulate probable cause for the search. So it does allow for some hijinks, although the Supreme Court does point out, and I got to give some credence to this, that impounding your car for a few hours or holding your roadside for a few hours may be more intrusive in some respects than simply letting the police go through your car and you going out about your way, assuming that their probable cause dissipates because they are incorrect that your car is hiding anything. The problem with this decision, as I see it, though, is that Pennsylvania had, at one time, and I think Justice Todd points this out, proudly said that we provide greater protections than the federal Constitution under the Pennsylvania Constitution. Here, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has now said, no, we're going to restrike the balance in favor of the public good and law enforcement efficiency against individual liberty. I don't think standing alone, this decision's a huge problem because it simply puts us in the exact same place as every other citizen of most states and anybody who's pulled over by a federal authority who only has to follow federal law and not Pennsylvania law. So it's a little bit of a change, and the practical protections available to Pennsylvanians and people traveling through Pennsylvania when being stopped or searched by Pennsylvania authorities doesn't change federal authorities and doesn't change your position as you travel through other states or as citizens from other states return to their states. But it's part of an alarming trend where our constitutional rights are being slowly chipped away one by one, where free speech is being attacked, where Fourth Amendment protections are being attacked. Here, Article 1, Section 8, which is the Pennsylvania Constitution, is being attacked. Our Second Amendment protections are being attacked. And it's interesting to see how far this pendulum will swing before individual liberty starts to outweigh collective interest again. Remember that the Fourth Amendment is a balancing test, unlike certain other amendments, and Article 1, Section 8 is also a balancing test of the Pennsylvania Constitution. So government is free to, and the courts are supposed to strike a balance between your reasonable expectation of privacy and society's interest in effective law enforcement. So it's an important decision. It changes Pennsylvania jurisprudence. Hopefully it's just not part of a slippery slope where we continue to lose our rights and our protections. Remain ever vigilant, my friends. Hey, welcome back. 717-916-5189. 717-916-5189. We're back live. If you want to talk, call 717-916-5189. Okay, so some clever person. Well, Clinton was impeached. Oh, yeah, he wasn't impeached over Elian Gonzalez. He was impeached over... what would the term be? An intern. The question of is some DNA, all that good stuff. Yes, because, what's the old joke? What kind of musical instrument does Bill Clinton play? I'll let you remember the punchline. I have my own punchline, by the way, since I like to smoke cigars quite often when I'm smoking a large, robust cigar. Some will say, that's like Bill Clinton and that Monica Lewinsky. And I'll say, actually, I'm smoking the Kathleen Willie. Okay, another bad joke. But we've heard. By the way, I actually talked to the guy, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. I actually talked to the guy who bought Clinton the cigars. They were real Cubans that he used on Monica Lewinsky. Just saying that I've talked to that guy. And you don't think I might know him? Probably don't. But I did. Met him. But I also have a picture of me and Jennifer Flowers. If you go to my Facebook page, my current profile picture. What do I have up as my current profile picture? Does anybody remember? Yep. It's me and Jennifer Flowers. That's her, baby. Now, she's like 20 years post-Clinton. I mean, give me a break. I'm like the sucker fish off the shark. I kind of, I'm just back there somewhere looking around for some scraps. Played at Broussard's in New Orleans. Yeah, no, on Twitter they're beating me up. Here's my favorite response. The kids have to be sent home. They're Mexican, period. That's right. The kids have to be sent home. They're Mexican. Makes sense to me. I mean, holy hell, next thing you know, they're going to want to, import salsa or something into this country. Clinton was impeached. I think Gonzalez should have been left here if he wanted. See? I love it. Elian Gonzalez's dad wanted him back in Cuba, and once back, he was happy to be with Dad. No one wanted to kill Reno. She's not worth prison. Okay. Anyhow. You can see, oh, he took it so seriously, my comment. Here, listen, it is funny, though. Bill Clinton is evil. He sent that kid back to Cuba. But we should send Obama is evil for not sending the kids back to Mexico, okay? Now, granted, Mexico's a little better than Cuba, right? Communist nation, backwards nation, blah, 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 blah. And if you can get here, now here's the best part, right? If you can get here from Cuba and get your pinky toe in the sand off the float boat, we'll give you permanent status here. Why? Because you're from Cuba. National, international politics. I never completely understand it. What else did I want to talk about tonight? Oh, Sarah Palin. I love talking about Sarah Palin. I once did a show called Why I Hate Sarah Palin. Actually, I filled in for Bob Durgan one time. It wasn't the actual name of the show, but